Picture a medieval castle at dawn, its towers cutting into the mist like stone knives, a symbol of power, safety and order. But here's the unsettling truth. Most history books glide past. Every castle you admire was built on suffering measured not in years, but in lives. Imagine standing in a frozen quarry at sunrise, hands bleeding, lungs burning, knowing the walls you're raising may never protect you or your family. Castles weren't just defensive masterpieces, you know, they were machines. Machines that consumed forests, villages, bodies, and time. And the paradox is this. The very structures meant to guarantee security often created insecurity for thousands. Tonight we pull back the curtain on the dark side of medieval castle building, the secrets hidden behind those picturesque ruins, and why understanding them changes how we see power, labour and survival even today. To understand castles, you have to imagine Europe between roughly the 9th and 15th centuries as a continent constantly bracing for violence, raids, feuds, invasions, shifting borders. So stone became the language of control. Lords didn't just build castles for defence, they built them to dominate landscapes and people. Entire regions were reorganised around a single fortress, roads redirected, farms relocated, forests stripped for timber and fuel. Peasants were legally obligated to work on these projects through forced labour known as corvée, often abandoning their own fields during planting or harvest seasons. And here's the cruel irony. A failed harvest caused by castle labour could lead to famine, which then justified more control, more fortification, more castles. Over generations, this cycle hardened into tradition until the suffering behind those walls felt invisible, even inevitable. Now imagine how a castle was actually built, step by step, because this is where the hidden brutality lives. First came the quarrying. Stone hacked from the earth with iron tools, no safety gear, no real medical care. Then transport, blocks weighing tons dragged by oxen, sleds or sheer human muscle, sometimes for miles. Mortar wasn't just mixed casually. It required lime burned in kilns that could poison the air and blind workers. Walls were thick not because medieval builders were inefficient, but because mass was insulation, strength and intimidation rolled into one. And the designs themselves were calculated for control. Narrow staircases spiralling to favour right-handed defenders, cramped living quarters that kept servants close and nobles separated, murder holes and arrow slits designed not just to defend, but to terrify. These weren't accidents. You know, they were deliberate choices born from generations of trial, bloodshed, and grim engineering wisdom. So why does this matter now? Because castles are an early blueprint of systems we still live inside today. Because castles are an early blueprint of systems we still live inside today. Massive infrastructure projects, corporate campuses, even digital platforms often promise safety, efficiency, or progress while quietly relying on invisible labour and hidden costs. Medieval builders understood thermal mass, passive heating and local materials better than we often do today. Stone walls storing heat, earthworks insulating interiors, compact designs reducing exposure. There's a lesson here. Sustainable design works best when it serves everyone, not just those at the top. When medieval techniques are stripped of exploitation and adapted ethically, they offer insights into resilient housing, low-energy construction and community-centred planning. Solutions we desperately need in a world facing climate extremes and resource strain. In the end, medieval castles are not just ruins of stone. They're frozen stories of ambition, fear, ingenuity, and sacrifice. They remind us that progress always has a shadow, and that what we celebrate as architectural triumphs often rest on foundations of human cost. The dark side of castle building doesn't diminish their brilliance. It deepens it, forcing us to confront the full truth of how civilizations protect themselves and who pays the price. As you walk past a castle ruin or see one rise on screen, remember the hands that shaped it, the lives it consumed, and the lessons it still whispers across centuries. And if this hidden history changed how you see the past, consider sharing it, subscribing, or continuing the journey. Because the stories history doesn't tell are often the ones we need most today.